Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me again on What Would You Say to Your Younger Self? Today, I have the really amazing Nancy Zare with me today. And guys, I'm so honored and grateful because I actually have known Nancy for quite some time now. She has known me since I was just, I think, maybe like a young kid, teenager-ish. She has visited my dad multiple times. She's come seen us in Florida, and I had the opportunity to go visit her when she used to live in Massachusetts, which was such an honor, and I got to go learn a lot about send-out cards, which was a really amazing service of personalized greeting cards and etc. So thank you so much, Nancy, for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
I am, it's my honor, and thank you for asking me. And yes, I have known you since you were a young person who was, very energetic, enthusiastic, and I just saw a bright future ahead for you.
Thank you. That's so sweet. Yeah, this is really special because I actually remember meeting you as well. Because I have met some people like, oh, I remember you as a kid, and I was like, yeah, I think I was like a baby, but I definitely remember you. But no, I remember very well. I think we went to like Disney World together, if I remember correctly, Epcot, and the beaches and all those things. I have really fond memories.
Well, I do too. Well,
Awesome. Well, I would love to know. I have known you obviously for some time, and I've known a lot about what you do, but I'd love for you to share a little bit of what you're doing and how you kind of fell into what you're doing now.
so I label myself as a sales psychologist, certified sales trainer, and author. And I think I was born a psychologist. I had an interest in how very curious about behavior ever since I was a little person. Unfortunately, my parents had a very stormy marital relationship, and that gave me an opportunity to actually watch and think about and act and really advise them. Can you believe it or not? When I was 10 years old, I actually advised them what to say in order to, well, not name to actually acquire a better communication with each other. And when I went off to college, I discovered that it was psychology. And I loved human behavior. And then later I backdoored it. Now I've combined both the psychology and the sales. And that come to
Sorry, you've been breaking up a little bit, but I think I heard most. We heard most of that. It's just like a word or two and weird sentences that were missing. But that is so cool that even at age 10 that you are able to help your parents in their communication, and that is so special because obviously I know that your parents mean a lot to you and care about this relationship in your life. And you said, hey, I think there's something that I can maybe help you with. I want to give back to you guys a little bit, and so that is so cool. And I'd love to know, psychology is such an, my dad is, my dad pretty well, and he does something pretty similar. And it has always been really fascinating to me to learn communication and to learn how to really understand each other, even when they're nothing like you. Is there a tip or something that you can share with some people who maybe don't know anything about psychology, who doesn't really know anything about communication? What's an easy kind of tip that they can start to implement, like the minute they finish this video? Like, oh, this is something I can look out for. This is something I can start saying. This is something I can open my eyes to.
the tip I'm going to share with you is it's not about you. Even when somebody uses your name and you, it's about them, and it's reflecting more on what going on in their head and what their values are, what they're thinking, than it actually is about. And they may be criticizing and telling you that there's something you've done wrong. Their judgment. It's about them. So the best tip I can give somebody is don't take it personally, not person, the other person.
Wow, that's a really great point. I appreciate you bringing that up because I think that sometimes people know that it's a very popular saying, like if someone criticizes you, it's probably because they're jealous or they have things going on, so don't take it personally. But I don't think people really realize that like it comes in other areas as well. And that's a really great point that sometimes you have to really listen. Like, is this person actually upset that I did this thing? Or is there something else that I'm not listening to that I can pay attention more and that I can help the relationship? They might not be in the best space for the relationship, and that's okay. But I know in myself that I haven't really actually done anything wrong, and I can actually maybe fix this as well.
Yeah, it's that you mention the word listen so much because it's listening with third ear. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people listen to the surface, which is the person is really the words and content. And then there's a secondary, listening, which is to what they're feeling. But then there's a third level of listening, which is what you were referring to just a moment ago. You listen to the meaning of it. And again, may not have used the words to say what was on their mind. So listening with that third ear and getting an underneath level, many people do that, Muskan. So I salute you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And yeah, that's a really great way to put it as well. So I would love to know, you have definitely been through a lot of amazing experiences, and I know that you've seen a lot in change in people and you've seen other people witness things. I'd like to know, is there any advice that you would have loved to hear at 17? Or any advice that you'd love to give to the 17-year-olds kind of moving forward?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked because the advice I was given my young, teenager would have been to heed the direction, mess the voice within. As I think happens is that as we become teenagers, we become oriented. Our peer group and people in our lives become very important. And many people, especially women, and maybe it's women in my generation, I don't know about yours, but the women in my generation very much were listening to other people's messages about what they should be and how they should feel and they should dress and what they should choose. And so listen to your inner and following your inner guidance, especially the spirit guidance, because that spirit guidance is barely audible. And we just mentioned a moment ago about listening, and that voice so easily over with all the clamors of worldly excitement, let's do this, go there, let's have fun, let's hang out. And those inner voices, they get it, that soft voice gets drowned out, that clamor. So the best advice to give is for you to really pay attention to what that little soft spiritual voice may be whispering.
Wow, that's a really great way to put it. I think a lot of people have that inner voice, but I think so many of us don't know how to listen to it and they don't really know what to even do with it. So I think that is a really great way to put it, to have people really understand like, hey, this is something I should pay attention to because I want to help myself and I want to understand myself. And sometimes, like it's kind of like when you're hungry, but you're not really sure what you want to eat, and you're like trying to like, what sounds good, what sounds in the mood, but you really don't know. I feel like that's like a tamer version of like what your inner voice is, and like the way that we don't always listen to it.
Yeah, and that was a great example you gave because a lot of times that the feeling hungry may actually be covering up something else and covering up thirst because most of us don't drink enough water. By the way, you drink about your body weight in ounces of water every day, and few of us reach that goal. Your voice could be saying, I'm actually thirsty and not hungry. Again, the inner voice may be saying, pay attention to me, need some self-care. And that self-care isn't necessarily eating. It could rest, it exercise, it could be a conversation with someone where there's meaning. There are many different things that could be going on, which get hunger when it's really something.
Yeah, definitely. That is a really amazing way to put it. You took my little silly example and you made it so much more beautiful. So I really appreciate that. That is so awesome. Well, before we wrap up, I do want to make sure that I bring up, because it is in your background and it's in my lap, but you recently wrote a book on no pressure selling, which that is such a genius title because so many people see sales and selling as such a pushy salesperson, slimy, scammy person. And a lot of us in sales really don't want to come across that way. We just believe that we can help people and we want them to be helped. That is a lot of what we want. And sometimes the only tactics out there are kind of weird tactics. And we're like, I don't really know if this is the right way to do it. So I'd love for you to share a little bit more about your book. What prompted you to start writing it, and what is something that you want everyone to kind of walk away with after they've read your book?
Well, as I mentioned to you a moment ago, I backdoored into selling. I had no intention to be a salesperson as a younger individual. And what happened is that the government paid for my graduate studies, and they paid for me to implement something called an employee assistance program, which is a service that helps people with addiction, alcohol, drug addiction, mental health problems, other serious concerns, instead of getting fired, to learn how to, to be rehabilitated and to be able to perform better at work. Well, what I didn't realize, Muskan, is that in order to implement a program, you had to sell the program. And so that's when I launched into my career of selling, at least on an active, conscious level. Now, we sell all the time. Anytime we open our mouth and we want to persuade somebody or influence somebody to take a behavior, we are selling. And you've been selling your parents a lot about what you need and how they should take care of you. But we're all selling all the time. And so no pressure selling, like you said, I too had that stereotype in mind about the unethical, manipulative salesperson. That was not me. It didn't align with my values. And so no pressure selling is about selling in a conversational way. And you used the word sharing a moment ago, sharing, versus selling. If you're genuinely got an open heart and you're trying to help somebody, then to recommend a service, an item, something that will make their life better and will solve their problem, that's not selling, that's just serving people. But of course, there has to be a request for transaction, because otherwise you're going to go broke if you just give it away. So you have to learn to not only share, but you have to learn to be able to ask.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I really appreciate that because there's just, like you said, there's just so much selling that we do that we don't even realize that we do. And even if you're like, no, there's no way it's called selling when I want to go out with my friends. Okay, but there are still places where you will have to sell yourself, and I feel like that's more obvious, like a job interview. That is like the number one, or maybe college admissions, school admissions. Those are probably like the closest to my age range, I should say, where you really have to sell yourself. Why should this college pick you? Why should this job pick you? Why are you the best? There's no beating around the bush. You can't just like make a friend and be like, I think I'll just get in this way, because you actually have to put in a lot of effort for that. So, I've had friends recently go through the job interview process and the college interview process. I'm like, wow, this is exactly what my dad teaches anyway, which is, I think, really, really cool.
You're right. Those are great examples of selling where the stakes are kind of high. What college am I going to get into? Am I going to get a position that is valuable to me? So you're right about that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that is so cool. So, Nancy, I just want to thank you again so much for the time that you've given me today. It means so much to me, and it is so amazing to still have you with this great relationship in my life, even all these years later. I think like 7 or so years at this point. It's been kind of a while, but I'm so grateful for that having you in my life. So I really appreciate the time you've given me today.
And vice versa.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We'll talk soon.
Okay, to your sales success.